This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com. Use the link in the description of the code Kenobi at checkout to get 5% off your order and help support the show. According to Bloomberg.com, Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast have they have cancelled 5 video game projects. This has been described as scaling back. Wizards employees said to Bloomberg that, and I quote, "We are still committed to using digital games." And then they went on to say, "We've made some changes to our long-term portfolio to focus on games which strategically align with developing our existing brands and those which show promise in expanding or engaging our audience in new ways." There's something about that statement that just makes me feel a bit sick. I think it's when you start using the word strategically aligned and branding. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Wizards of the Coast do have an illustrious career when it comes to video games, of making basically a shit ton of D&D stuff and hardly any Magic stuff. And the Magic stuff has been, shall we say, not good at times. What that whole digitally, strategically associated branding means is that they are looking for ways that they can monetize in an aggressive and perhaps predatory way as opposed to making normal games. So at least that's what I pull from it, that's what I draw from it. And I've got some more to back up that claim in a way. It's not a claim, it's more of a reading the bones as it were, but I can back that up more later in the video. First of all, let's just unpack what's actually happened. Now I'm going to say it up front and up top because some smart ass in the comment section is going to point it out. There's actually a very unlikely or very low likelihood that these games were even Magic based. There's a good chance that they were just D&D stuff. Or if there was at least one Magic among these supposed 5 that have been cancelled, I bet that one Magic one was probably a puzzle or mobile game. That seems to be where they're willing to dip their toe into the digital waters when it comes to Magic that isn't Arena. The other thing that I want to mention is that this reorganization, this changing in brand strategy, does mean, according to Bloomberg, that 15 individuals have either lost their jobs or are getting rejigged into other parts of Wizards of the Coast. And I do want to stop here and say I'm not making light of that. If anything, I want to show solidarity and say that I feel bad for those people because of their lives or their careers being damaged by a lack of vision or ambition from Wizards leadership. So what do we actually know? Well, we know that according to the Bloomberg announcement that Other Side Entertainment was one of the companies that the Wizards of the Coast were dealing with. We didn't know what they were working on specifically, but Other Side Entertainment is a company formed from ex-staff members of Looking Glass Studios. That's the company that made PC classics like Thief, for example. And the studio director is Warren Spector. And yes, I mean that Warren Spector, the one who made some really good shit back in the 90s and the noughties. This studio were actually at one point working on System Shock 3, a third installment in a classic emergent sim first-person shootery RPG-y thing. I've only played them in passing because I felt like I should as a video game nerd, and they've not aged great. So I was looking forward to a new entry in that. System Shock later went on to become Bioshock in many ways, as a spiritual successor kind of thing. So there's some heritage there. The reason I bring it up is that System Shock 3 then went to a different studio when Other Side Entertainment were having, according to Wikipedia at least, financial difficulties. They've released a couple of games with terrible Metacritic scores and reportedly working on something for Wizards of the Coast, but that ain't the case no more. They have 2 games still in the works, both led by Warren Spector, both emergent sim style things. One seems to be a spiritual successor to Thief, for example, and one seems to be God knows what. It's got a whale involved. Either way, those projects sound exciting, and part of me wondered if somewhere on the line, was this going to be some sort of emergent sim RPG style thing in the vein of a Deus Ex or a Thief that was Magic related? A boy can dream. The other company that have been noted here are Hidden Path Entertainment, who are also working on a game for Wizards that we know was called, well, it wasn't called anything, but it was an untitled Dungeons & Dragons RPG, which we certainly needed more of. Hidden Path have made a load of tower defense games and HD remakes of Age of Empires, but perhaps most impressively and most famously, they co-developed Counter-Strike Global Offensive underneath the tutelage of Valve, and co-developed it with Valve. I find this interesting because, well, Global Offensive led the way in loot boxes, skins, and secondary markets in the gaming space, which is something that I imagine aligns quite well with Wizards' brand strategies and game plans. I can imagine that being a thing for D&D as well, as they talked about how Dungeons & Dragons is under-monetized in a recent investor call. So I'm surprised that this fitting with their current ethos wasn't where we were going with that. Or maybe it was, but they've scaled back and that's been cancelled. So that's 2 of the projects 3 other ones we just don't know where they were or what they were, probably D&D, let's be honest, but they've all been scaled back and cancelled. I say scaled back, sorry, the company is scaled back, the games are cancelled. And like I said, there's a very low chance that any of these are actually Magic the Gathering. I've done videos before about how Wizards seem to be unable to or unwilling to actually dive into that IP outside of just the actual collectible game itself and a few other collectibles associated with it. K-Swiss trainers, a minted dollar here or there, that kind of thing. I've actually done a video on that, talking about all the games that have been made for Magic the Gathering and how I think it's a wasted intellectual property in that sense. They should do the Games Workshop thing where they just throw a load of shit at the wall, have tons of games come out. Most of them suck, but it makes money and it grows the brand. It grows the brand association in people's minds with things beyond the card game. And occasionally you might even get an absolute hit that transforms the game within the mainstream gaming media. Things like Dawn of War and Space Marine did. So why am I making a video on this today? Well, I just found it interesting when I read about it when I was taking a shit this morning. And I think it's also interesting for talking about where Wizards of the Coast are going and what their growth plan is. Keep in mind that a scale back often suggests that they're trying to shave some pennies somewhere. And for the last couple of years, myself included, we've all been talking about how Wizards of the Coast have made $1 billion or nearly. They never quite got there, right? But Wizards of the Coast were going to be Hasbro's first $1 billion brand, I think they said. No, that's not true. That's not true. There's other toys that made $1 billion. Magic was going to be Wizards of the Coast's first $1 billion brand. And all of this could have tied into that, right? They could have tied those games in with the games they're promoting. A Magic game or a D&D game promoting the central game. But the problem is that their attitude towards video games is that they're not really worthwhile at the moment. Or at least not the video games that we're thinking of. Strategy games, first-person shooters, RPGs or whatever. In the fireside chat, the same one where Chris Cox and Cynthia Williams both said that there was no evidence that Wizards of the Coast were overprinting Magic cards, except for the declining singles market. I think I might have to do a video on in time. But they said that, and they also said that D&D was under-monetized, which is a scary phrase. In that same fireside chat, because I listened to the whole fucking thing, so you didn't have to, a few weeks ago, and then decided not to make a video on it because it was boring as shit. But they also said that they were making video on the topic of Magic. They said under question that they were making things that engage with the audience in the video game like arena or sphere, and what they meant was, no pun intended, they meant arena. And if your only video game offering is a digital version of the card game, a digital version that just sells you the cards again, that is short-sighted. It lacks, like I said earlier, ambition and vision. It's just a digital emulation of Magic the Gathering. And I guess they have expanded the game in some ways with digital-only cards and digital-only mechanics and such. But to say that's a video game based upon Magic is very loose. It's very restrictive in how we talk about video games. It's not really anything but the card game, but on my monitor with a mouse and sometimes a keyboard if the shortcuts work. But the important thing is, with a game like that, it's very easy to monetize it without people complaining. When you start to monetize games right out of the gate, for example, I don't know, I'm going to pull one out of the air here, like Magic Legends. Magic Legends was an MMO initially, and then ended up being sort of an action, instance-based action RPG thing. It was a mess. I did videos on it at the time. I've started writing a video to detail the sad story of this game, which hopefully will come out maybe sometime next week. But either way, this game was shit. But as it went into beta, there was already a cash shop immediately, and people reacted badly to that because cash shops being in your game immediately looks bad. Look at Dark Tide that just came out as well, a 140k game to jump to another side of this niche, not really niche, the video gaming sphere. Either way, Dark Tide came out of beta into full release and it was a mess. It crashed consistently, had performance issues. But the first thing implemented, cash shop, and that got pushed back. However, when it comes to a digital card game, we've all been bludgeoned over the head a million times before with microtransactions, season passes, little loot box booster packs, so we're kind of used to it. Hell, Magic itself is based around that premise, that we're going to gamble on open packs, we're going to spend money to gamble on getting that rare. So Arena can do that, and most people don't give a fuck. Half the people are free to play grinding 5 to 6 hours a week and telling others on Reddit that you too can play for free if you don't value human time, if you don't value the fucking minutes and time you have on this earth by playing the formats you don't want to play. If you draft all the time, you can play Constructed for free, but you can't because you don't have any time left. You've got to go to your 9 to 5. And if you're caught playing Magic on the shitter in your 9 to 5, they might be a little bit upset. But they can monetize this. It's not a new or exciting way to engage with your player base. We already had Modo before. I mean, Modo looks like complete shit and it was also kind of neglected in many ways. But Arena is not new. It is just Magic, but you can play early hours of the morning. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. I think there are a lot of upsides to having digital Magic. I sound very down on it. I think digital Magic is great. Hell, I play more digital Magic than I do physical Magic every fucking week. Every day I play Magic digitally, but can't do that physically, right? So I'm all for it. But pretending like it's a new innovation in the video game space is complete bollocks. It's only a new innovation, a new revenue stream, really. That's not innovation, that's just another way to make money. And that's why I think we're going with D&D too. This year they had Dark Alliance come out that was critically panned and I believe commercially relatively unsuccessful. I don't have any exact numbers about it here. Meanwhile, Baldur's Gate 3, which is like Dark Alliance, is treading on an old name. Baldur's Gate 3 in its early access came out to basically rapturous applause. The game appears to be doing very well. I am very excited for the full release of it where I can dive back in. Haven't played it since the beta, not the beta, the early access event thing started. Either way, they've had one real good success and one failure. And I guess why keep doing the thing when you could fail, when you could just monetize D&D by selling us races and languages and feats and random little bits. You know, cut the game up and sell it to us to make money. I think that is the main focus. How do they monetize D&D at its core? I think that's going to be the digital offerings going forward, as WotC scared that their share price is dipping, I guess, although we've had a bit of a recovery in the last week or so. But they're scared with their share price dipping, so they've peeled back on costly endeavors like making video games. But amongst all this, the weird thing is that there's a D&D movie that's been in the works and is coming out in 2023. So you'd think with the brand being on people's radars, we're trying to make a movie endeavor within that brand, you'd want some video games to sell alongside it. But instead, we've canned off many that were in development. I guess Baldur's Gate 3 might... that's not going to scratch the itch of a child that watches the D&D movie and likes it. I found this all rather fascinating because I've been talking a lot about how they could engage with video games to expand their IPs and expand brand recognition across different spheres and different audiences. And I'm playing a lot of the Warhammer video games to gear up to make videos about them too. So this is fascinating that we've just seen a peel back from that area once again, a cancellation. And it also doesn't bode well for where the fuck is the Magic Netflix series? That's probably a video for me to make as well. Everything we know up until this point, which isn't a huge amount. And I wonder if it'll ever come out. I wonder if the Henry Cavill-backed Warhammer stuff will appear in front of our eyeballs before we ever see Brandon Routh voice Gideon in the Magic TV show. And if you're out of the loop, I'm not joking. Brandon Routh is voicing Gideon. So we have ex-Superman making Warhammer TV show. We have ex-Superman making Magic TV show. That's kind of cool. That's the lowdown. That's some thoughts on it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Are you surprised by this? I guess no one is fucking surprised by this. But it's still, whilst it's not surprising, there is an element of surprise. Like if someone said to me, oh, tomorrow we're going to get an announcement that they've cancelled 5 D&D games, I'd say, well, I'm not surprised, but I am also kind of surprised. Like, why are they doing that? It looked like they were doing pretty well as a company. Why not continue with your endeavors outside of the tabletop board game and the card games? Weird shit. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe for more Wizards of the Coast themed content, but mainly Magic the Gathering on this channel if I'm honest. And I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.